Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and watch until the end, because what you're about to learn about visceral fat can completely change the way you approach weight loss and your metabolism. Today, we're not just talking about losing weight. We're talking about eliminating visceral fat. Visceral fat is not the fat you see. It is not just the fat you can pinch around your waist. Visceral fat is the deep abdominal fat stored around your vital organs, your liver, pancreas, and intestines. And this type of fat is dangerous because visceral fat is metabolically active. That means visceral fat is not sitting there quietly. Visceral fat releases inflammatory chemicals. Visceral fat increases insulin resistance. Visceral fat elevates cortisol. Visceral fat disrupts hormonal balance. And the more visceral fat you carry, the more your body shifts into survival mode, storing more fat and burning less. This is why so many people struggle. They diet, they do cardio, they cut calories, but visceral fat remains. Why? Because visceral fat is deeply connected to metabolic health. If your insulin is constantly elevated, visceral fat will stay. If your cortisol is high, visceral fat will stay. If your muscle mass is low, visceral fat will stay. So if your goal is real transformation, your focus must be eliminating visceral fat. First, stabilize blood sugar to target visceral fat. Every time you consume high amounts of sugar and refined carbohydrates, insulin spikes. And when insulin is elevated, your body cannot efficiently burn visceral fat. Instead, it stores more, especially in the abdominal area. Balanced meals with protein, fiber, and healthy fats reduce insulin spikes and create the metabolic conditions necessary to reduce visceral fat. Stable blood sugar equals access to stored visceral fat. Second, build lean muscle to attack visceral fat. Muscle is your metabolic engine. The more lean muscle you build, the more calories you burn at rest. Strength training 3 to 4 times per week increases resting metabolic rate and improves insulin sensitivity, both essential for reducing visceral fat. Cardio burns calories temporarily. Muscle burns calories all day, and visceral fat responds strongly to improved metabolic rate. Third, increase protein intake to reduce visceral fat. Protein boosts thermogenesis, meaning your body burns more calories during digestion. Protein also protects muscle during fat loss. When muscle is preserved, metabolism stays elevated, and a faster metabolism directly supports visceral fat reduction. Now here's something powerful. If you want to accelerate visceral fat loss even further, there's a doctor-recommended fat burner designed to stimulate thermogenesis and support metabolic activity. It helps the body shift into a stronger fat-burning state, specifically supporting the reduction of stored fat like visceral fat. You can find it in the description below. When combined with strength training, balanced nutrition, and proper recovery, this type of metabolic support can enhance your ability to eliminate visceral fat more efficiently. But remember, no supplement eliminates visceral fat alone. It enhances a structured strategy. Fourth, control cortisol to prevent visceral fat accumulation. Chronic stress increases cortisol. Elevated cortisol signals your body to store visceral fat around the abdomen. Even with a perfect diet, unmanaged stress can keep visceral fat locked in place. Prioritize 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. Include recovery days. Practice stress management daily. Lower cortisol levels create a hormonal environment where visceral fat can finally decrease. Fifth, avoid extreme dieting because extreme restriction protects visceral fat. When you drastically cut calories, your body adapts by lowering metabolic rate. This metabolic adaptation makes it harder to burn visceral fat. Your body sees severe restriction as a threat and holds onto visceral fat as protection. Instead, use a moderate calorie deficit. Combine it with high protein intake, strength training, metabolic support, and recovery. This tells your body it is safe to release visceral fat. Here is the truth you need to understand. Visceral fat responds quickly to metabolic improvement. When insulin stabilizes, visceral fat decreases. When muscle increases, visceral fat decreases. When inflammation lowers, visceral fat decreases. When cortisol drops, visceral fat decreases. Eliminating visceral fat is not about starving. It is not about endless cardio. It is not about quick fixes. It is about creating an internal environment where visceral fat can no longer survive. Optimize your blood sugar. Optimize your muscle mass. Optimize your protein intake. Optimize your sleep. Optimize your stress levels. When you do this consistently, visceral fat begins to shrink. Your waistline tightens. Your energy increases. Your metabolic markers improve. And the most powerful part? When visceral fat decreases, your entire metabolism improves. Hormones balance. Inflammation drops. Fat burning becomes easier. Stay committed to eliminating visceral fat, not just losing weight. Because when you eliminate visceral fat, you are not just changing how you look. You are transforming your metabolism, protecting your organs, and upgrading your health for life. Fix your metabolism. Target visceral fat strategically. Stay consistent. And watch what happens when your body finally lets go of visceral fat for good.